Mic check. Let me not have a situation like I did yesterday. And no microphone turned on. Let me make sure. Okay. I hope you guys can hear me now. At any rate, this is the weekend review. If you didn't hear it, you didn't mean to hear it, and that we're just gonna leave that at that. Gotta love technology. All right, guys. So the biggest stories that we saw this week are um, in regards to the numbers, and everyone's talking about the numbers for last year and the numbers for this year. So U.S. pending home sales shot up in December as falling mortgage rates brought buyers back to the market. And just to a footnote, the majority of these stories are going to be found on nar.realtor in their news site, their newsroom. So you can go back over there. There are actually some great articles right now. I can share this with you. Give me 1 second. Um, but yeah, NAR has some great articles up right now that you can view at any time. You don't have to be a realtor to view these articles. Um, and it's a great source of information for you to stay on top of all the latest happenings. You can see here the site. Let me show you here. So this is some of the top stuff from their realtor division. But here in latest news, agents can use rentals to fill in pipeline. That's more agent directed. But then you also have great articles for clients, and consumers. Where does it make most sense to buy a fixer upper? Probably a great article. Lower mortgage rates coax home buyers off the fence. We'll talk about that one a little bit more. And this is another great one. Melissa Dickman Tracy's articles are always great. Home sale dip as prices surge to new highs. Really, it's a great site. Check it out whenever you get a chance. But as always, I digress. Story number one is U.S. pending home sales shot up in December as falling mortgage rates brought buyers back into the market. And we've been talking about this maybe 3 weeks in a row now. That as mortgage rates go lower, we're getting more people in the market. We actually saw a huge surge of sales come up for December. And it seems that maybe the low for well, actually, I'm sorry. We hit a new high for prices in December, but a low for sales. So, really right now with the adjusted numbers, we're looking that maybe we hit the bottom already for this sort of adjustment period, and we might be turning a corner. Maybe moderate growth, and then maybe not something too drastic, but we're going to see a moderate to maybe break even point on real estate this coming year. So, more folks snap up new construction in December thanks to lower mortgage rates, giving the new home market a boost. We are seeing a lot of that when previously owned properties are not coming on the market. New construction always gets a big boost. And with limited inventory in the market and people hearing the news and the lower interest rates, it's becoming a lot more feasible to go down the street and talk to that builder and get into that new property instead of waiting around to see if your dream home is even going to come on the market. December home sales look to be the bottom before inevitable turning higher in the new year, says the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yun. I always appreciate Lawrence's Yun's take on the market. It's very fair. He's a Maryland alum, so kind of partial there. But his take on the market is that we've basically bottomed out when it comes to what we're going to see in prices, and really we can expect now prices to go up a moderate amount, a small amount, not really double digits, especially like we've seen the last couple of years or 2 years or 3 years ago. But we're going to still see a pricing that's being bolstered up by demand. The more demand there is on the market with lack of supply, the more stable the prices will stay. If the demand softens, then we may see prices drop, and that really will be the determining factor on whether or not we gain an extra amount this year, or if we break around the estimates the most organizations are predicting. I think NAR themselves claimed 1.1% appreciation for this year nationwide. So, take that with a grain of salt, and every area is different because remember, we all live in different areas, and each market varies depending on region and neighborhood as well. So, but let's keep on going. Construction of new homes fell 4.3% in December as home builders scale back new projects. Remember, home builders have to think about the future, and these articles, all the data, everything is done in arrears. It's done basically afterwards. We're talking about 3 months ago. We're already pulling up on February, and we're just probably gonna get well, we always get the numbers for the last month on the 16th of the next month. So, it takes at least a month to get the data processed, and then there are revisions to data where you'll see, the numbers are sometimes compiled or recompiled to make sure that the most accurate data is being logged. But all in all, construction needs to be moderate because they don't want to sit on too much inventory. Remember, too much inventory, even in new construction, devalues the product. With rates having declined over the past 2 months, economists see a modest rebound in home sales ahead. And really, the rates have been what's pushing people away. If we get those three rate cuts that we're expecting from the Federal Reserve, we expect to see rates continue to fall. Um, of course, we don't expect to see them go as low as 1 or 2%, the way we were seeing before, but we do expect to see a decrease from the almost 8%, 7, 8% that we were seeing um, earlier last year. The S&P Core Logic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index, which measures home prices across the nation, rose 3.9% from a year earlier in September. So year over year, home prices have gone up almost 4% nationwide. So you can imagine, with the price of inflation, with the cost of goods, with raises, it's getting very difficult to keep up with the affordability of home prices and even rents. We're seeing rents staying steady. But Lawrence Yun actually mentioned in a forecast report that he did with GCAR that was very good. It's very insightful. I invite you guys to check it out when it goes on GCAR's YouTube channel. Um, but in that discussion, he talks about how if the rents soften, then that could also be a catalyst for other changes as well. If there's more affordable housing, that could all be changes. And he implores government to take more action to make more affordable housing. But in government, that could take decades or years to get accomplished. Really, it comes down to what we can do as a community to make sure that we're well, it's really hard because you can't tell people who to sell to or who not to sell to, and it's just really the market and the nature of the beast. The best thing that you can do is as a community get educated, work together and educate each other on good financial practices and the best things that you can do to be prepared so that when these opportunities do arise, you can capitalize, because otherwise you'll always be playing catch up. Reading about the news is already too late. You have to be, what's the saying? You buy the rumor, sell the news, and that's really what it is. News is always in a retrospective, eye of the beholder sort of perspective. But when you're in the moment living it, I can tell you that the boots on the ground, though that point of view, that POV is definitely very different. And I lived through this information. So to tell you that the market was slow, the market was slow. The market was not ringing. I had realtors calling me asking me what I'm doing for business, and that's when I know it's slow. When realtors start bugging me, it's they're bored. So at the end of the day, it's starting to pick up. We're seeing a lot of people start to change their minds, especially as rates are going down. But that could tell you right there, the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index is a great indicator of telling you, hey, where are we looking year against year on the appreciation nationwide, and then you can extrapolate from there. 4% isn't a bad price, and you can take that number and just ballpark it for your own property and see what you come up with. U.S. new home sales fell 5.6% to a seasonal adjusted annual rate of 679,000 in October from a revised 719,000 in September. So you can see that we lost almost 5% in home sales. Not and that could be because of several things. It could be because people couldn't qualify anymore. We were hearing a lot of people dropping out of contracts, trying to get out of them. So there were a lot of things that occurred in those months that could have caused that to happen. Um, really, the rates of change give people a cold, cold feet sort of effect sometimes, but don't worry. Really, at the end of the day, it's the important thing is that you get a home that you love, and then the other stuff like the math can be figured out at a later point. Because, like, they said they weren't going to cut rates, and look, we're cutting rates. Not more than what, 18 months from when they said they weren't ever going to cut rates. Um, so make sure you're doing your research and looking at the longer perspective of the economic cycle. We don't live in a vacuum. We have a long trajectory of history to look at that helps us look into the future of what may happen, and that always helps. Home sales fell in October to a fresh 13-year low as high interest rates and home prices continued to pummel the housing market. And that really was the most shocking story of the week. 13-year low for October. And after having such a fast pace, I can tell you it was very, very slow. These last few months have been slow, and they've been quiet in certain sectors. It just really depends on how people conduct their business. But I can tell you that it was not the season that we normally have. Now that we're starting to come up on the spring season and started coming up on the end of winter, we are starting to see it pick up. So, we're starting to see those cogs move again. And especially as the mortgage rates continue to go down, I predict, continue to see more people out there looking, and more traffic, because we're seeing more people look at properties on showing time and through century lock. The numbers are going up, it's just they're not buying. So we will have to wait and see. Housing starts rose to 1.37 million annual pace from 1.35 million in October. They are increasing how fast they are constructing, and that's always a good sign. More houses, more opportunities for first time home buyers. And last article of the week, Chicago led the nation in home price gains for the fourth month in a row. And Chicago has been a big story this year and last year already. The 4 months of price gains has been great. The market was very, very toughly beat over the last few years. We will have to wait and see how it rebounds, and how a lot of major metropolises rebound, because we're seeing a lot of the bigger cities start to come back, especially as restrictions were lifted, and now just recently start to lift some of their COVID restrictions in the case of California. So, still developing stories, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that this helped you all to stay a little bit more informed about real estate and what we got going on nationwide in the top 10 real estate news stories of the day. of actually the week. I again am Hugo Quintanilla, your licensed realtor in Maryland with Long and Foster, North Potomac, Rockville. It is always a pleasure to have you guys participate and join in the live. Again, I am here to help if you or anyone you know has a question, comment, concern, or needs help buying, selling, leasing, or investing in real estate in Maryland, feel free and send them my information or let them know. My phone number is 240-389-4846. My email is hugo@lnf.com, and my website is yourrealtorhugo.com. Thank you all again for participating. You really are. Very near and dear to my heart. I appreciate you. And I will see you all for another live tomorrow. Take care. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend.